My name is Alexandre Pacheco da Silva, and this is Law and Technology Series, a set of interviews with incredible scholars to discuss the impacts of new technologies in the legal field. I'm a law professor at São Paulo Law School at Getúlio Vargas Foundation, and I coordinate with Professor Marina Pfefferbaum the Center for Education and Research in Innovation. Today, we have Professor Ryu Kojima, who is an associate professor in the Department of International Legal Studies at the Faculty of Law at Kyushu University. Professor Kojima holds a LLB from University of Tokyo, Faculty of Law, and an LLM from Harvard Law School. Professor Kojima has an extensive curriculum as a researcher and significant contributions to the public debate in the fields of intellectual property, cyber law, among others. Professor Kojima has been dedicated to researching topics such as information transactions in the digital environment, copyright and freedom of expression, creative economy and innovation, fashion and protection of design, among other topics, very interesting topics, by the way. It is a pleasure to have you here for this interview, Professor, and thank you again for accepting our invitation. Our interview today is divided into 3 questions. The first one, it is, how, in your view, is technology impacting the legal field?
Okay, so thank you very much for your invitation. My name is Ryu Kojima from Kyushu University. So I received 3 questions. And the first question is that how is technology impacting the legal field? So yeah, in my view, not only in the contemporary society, but throughout our history, scientific advancements have had a great impact in the legal regulation. So, but actually, if we look at now, actually the kind of complexity of the legal issue is actually is becoming more and more ongoing, and which actually it means that the legal regulation itself is becoming more complex and getting more and more difficult. And when I looked at your question, I actually thought there are several reasons, and that I would like to actually point out a few of them. The first one is actually that the technology is becoming more and more actually sophisticated and complex. So it is getting more and more difficult for us, like ordinary people, to understand the technology itself. So which actually makes the legal regulation actually more and more difficult. And another reason is that the pace, the speed of the technological advancements. Of course, the regulation actually is not actually is a kind of like actually the human actually that our history is actually is always kind of actually hands in hand with the innovation, technological advancements. But actually the recent actually the technological advancements, the speed is actually getting much faster and faster. So which actually makes the legal regulation actually more and more difficult, because once, for example, if we amend certain actually for example, like laws or provisions, actually it's becoming too obsolete. So this is the kind of second reason. And another reason is that especially the kind of smart technology, like various digital technologies, including AI and so on, actually has been proliferating. Actually we are surrounded by all these technologies, and which means that these technologies, very actually the cutting edge, sophisticated technology, is actually now entering into the private sphere, not only the public sphere, but also the private sphere. So it is always the case that such regulation in private sphere is actually is a kind of headache. So this is one of the reasons, I suppose. And also which is related to the third actually point. We actually, the ordinary people, we're all kind of always actually involved in these kind of technologies or the technological advancements or innovation in a sense. For example, actually we're all using in the last several months there's been a heated debate on generative AI, and also in the last decades or so we have actually had a lot of discussion on the so-called user-generated contents, and also the so-called user innovation or democratization of innovation is has been has happened. So we layperson, ordinary people, we are also heavily involved in the technological advancements or the innovation itself. So which means that how to regulate such the activities is more difficult than ever. And also especially such smart technologies or software-based technology that easily kind of goes beyond the national borders. So we are now this interview is a typical example. We're actually living in the completely the opposite side of the earth, right? 12 hours time difference, but because of these kind of very sophisticated technology of the kind of remote the conference online conference the software, we're able to communicate very, very easily, right? So these kind of transnational nature of the technology and innovation, this is one of the kind of reasons why the law is now getting facing a kind of difficulty in the improper regulation. So of course I can these reasons which I've just mentioned are not exhaustive. I think probably we can raise other backgrounds or reasons as well, but in my view, all these factors kind of collectively kind of contribute or their affect to the challenges that we're facing in the field of the legal fields. This is my view.
That's very interesting because I totally agree with you. And one of the things that we discuss here a lot in Brazil, it is the idea that technology is becoming more and more complex. The transformation is achieving a speed that we have difficulties to follow. And the scale of the transformation as a global one, it is very challenging for us to try to intervene or think about the possibilities of intervention that we as a country could do to deal with the problems related with innovation and new technologies. This leads me to the second question. For you, Professor, is there a field of study that we can call law and technology? And just to give you some context why we are asking this type of question, usually we discussed with professors here in Brazil in our faculty that we are seeing some specificities of the way that technology relates with the legal fields that could, in a way, be called as a new field or a field that we can actually have specific characteristics that apply not only, but mainly in that field. And some traditional academics and lawyers would say that, there isn't a field. We can actually use other areas of law to actually answer new questions that comes from technology. What your inputs regarding that specific question regarding, is there a field that we can call law and technology?
Thank you very much for your explanation. When I looked at your question, I immediately thought that maybe I should paraphrase like this. So that when I looked at your question, I kind of understood in the following manner. So if, for example, if actually that I would be asked that is there any kind of researcher or kind of like legal academics who can teach actually various the issues of so-called law and technology all by himself or all by herself? Probably my answer would be no, because actually it is actually the law and technology is so comprehensive, so it's very difficult for a kind of single person to kind of fully understand and to actually and also teach in a full-fledged manner. So the reason is that the traditional kind of legal discussions or legal arguments actually seems to have kind of divided the various legal the issues related to actually technology, science, technology, and innovation among actually different areas of law. So in this regard, actually each their areas of law have kind of like have the kind of division of roles, right? So for example, if somebody want to discuss certain issues related to innovation, for example, probably my field, namely intellectual property law, actually would have been probably probably would have been the first choice, right? So probably we IP scholars, IP law scholars, probably we were expected or we have been expected to deal with such kind of issues primarily. And also in my understanding, actually traditional various legal issues related to law and technology actually have been discussed within the framework of their respective disciplines and their respective and also their actually framed issues. So for example, issues related to, for example, environmental pollution. So as you know, Japan actually has experienced various actually serious such environmental pollutions actually especially in the 20th century after the World War II. So probably the typical example is Minamata disease in Kyushu Island. So in this island. So so when, for example, we discuss these kind of pollution issues, right, from a legal perspective, probably we probably would name several areas of law. So for example, in terms of, for example, like compensation or all these kind of actually civil liability, probably we would call kind of like civil law professors, right? Then probably civil law professors start talking about these issues actually from the perspective of tort law, for example. So then probably they would talk about what's the negligence or causality or how we should calculate damages and et cetera, right? But at the same time, actually, in terms of environmental pollution, we actually need to kind of like listen to administrative law scholars, right? Because actually in many cases, actually pollutions actually happened because that's such kind of authorities, right, that didn't exercise the proper such regulatory powers. And here actually comes we have to face several legal questions, right, the kind of issues in administrative law, such as exercise of regulatory authority or control of discretion or the standing of standing to sue, all these things, right? But probably this is not enough, right? So we need to call criminal law professors, right? Then because in these kind of pollution issues, actually kind of how we should conceptualize kind of like corporate criminal liability is extremely important. So this is just an example, but in traditionally probably once we actually have certain cases or certain issues, probably we would call all these actually scholars from different areas of law, and then these scholars actually start actually thinking about conceptualizing all these issues within their framework. Probably this has been the case. So, but having said that, when I looked at your the second question, I simply thought that this kind of traditional kind of way of thinking or traditional way of argument may not be enough. Probably we need something more. So because as I already mentioned, actually in responding to the first question, the current contemporary the current legal issues related to technology and innovation is quite actually complex. And then so if it is the case, probably we need to kind of like we need more kind of integration, right? We have a growing need to discuss all these law and technology issues in a more integrated manner. So if it is the case, probably we need to do something more. But as I said, if actually the second question actually that means that are there anybody actually who can teach or who can write a kind of textbook or a horn book on law and technology all by himself or all by herself? Probably my answer would be no. A bit negatively.
That's a very interesting view regarding that topic. And one thing that we discuss a lot, it is the idea that we need to have a lot of scholars and professors to sharing experience and sharing knowledge regarding how can we actually build questions that could explain the impact of new technology in society. And that's a very interesting thing to think about interaction, to think about complexity, and bring more people to this discussion, to think that the effects of technology will spread in different areas of law. So that leads me to the third and final question for this interview. My third question for you, Professor, is what should a law school do regarding the impacts of technology in the legal field?
Thank you very much. It's deeply connected to the first and second question. And then in my view, that's, I think contemporary legal education actually needs a more integrated approach for the law and technology. And in order to actually do so, probably we need to kind of create a kind of platform for the technology and the law, where actually the various scholars actually meet and discuss together. And as I said, it's really difficult. It's a real challenge for the individual the scholar to kind of comprehensively cover all legal issues related to technology at a kind of expert level. We're not God, so it's very, very difficult. And moreover, addressing legal issues related to technology in contemporary society is difficult with a kind of subject-specific kind of approach. Of course, as I said, when we face the pollution issues, right? Actually, of course, we need to call the various scholars, but at the same time, that if we really want to approach from a kind of comprehensive manner, probably just collecting the different scholars may not be enough, may not be sufficient. So this is actually one of the reasons why I kind of like mentioned the kind of like the idea of creating platforms where a lot of scholars meet and kind of really meet and really discuss in a more fruitful manner. And this is actually but what I have just mentioned is actually kind of like within the territory of the legal field. But in my view, actually, recent the various legal issues on the law and technology, actually the may actually not be kind of like it shouldn't be closed within the legal field, because kind of legal the regulation to change people's behavior. This is just one approach, as this is what, for example, like Professor Lawrence Lessig mentioned quite a long time ago, right? We have in the modality of social regulation, of course, law is important, but at the same time, we need to consider the other the various elements, including technology, including the social norms, or including market mechanisms, etc. So if it is the case, we legal academics should be, in my view, especially in the field of technology and the law, we should be modest. The legal regulation is just a kind of a tool to achieve a certain goal. So if it is the case, that we should be more open, to the other disciplines, So if it is the case, actually, that the platform, actually, which I have mentioned, actually, that should be also open to the various, actually, the scholars, also the practitioners, actually, that including also the various citizens, or also so it should be open to all, actually, these kind of, actually, the actors, actually, that are in this society. So yeah, this is my, actually, the tentative view. Of course, I want to actually respond to your, actually, further questions. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor Kojima. It's been a pleasure to hearing you during this interview, especially this very interesting idea regarding the creation of a platform and trying to actually connect professors in different areas to discuss this subject. I would like to end this interview with a message that you can actually provide us, especially for our students, regarding the future, because it's quite simple. Our students are asking a lot about the impacts of technology in the legal field, in their professions, in their profession. And one of the things that they ask us, it is, will us have a place in this world, or will us have a place in the legal market or in the legal profession? And I'm ending this interview with actually a very straightforward message. What it is your message for those students that are actually thinking about their future in the legal field?
Thank you very much. This is a very interesting question, but at the same time, very difficult question to answer. But yeah, to answer your actually question, if you allow me, I would like to share my actually experience in my actually current research. You may have heard from Professor Yini, actually that's I'm now involved in a research project on the so-called urban air mobility, the flying cars. And in Japan, so-called kind of two buzzwords is now actually actually we have two buzzwords. One is so-called ethical, legal, and the social issues, so-called LC, of the science, technology, and innovation. And the second buzzword is so-called as the responsible research and innovation, RRI. And in the last several years, actually, the Japanese government, actually, including Japanese government, actually, these kind of LC and the concept of LC and the concept of RRI, actually, has been taken quite seriously. So currently, actually, when, for example, like the Japanese government tried to launch a kind of like a huge amount, tremendous amount of kind of like a research funding, a so-called moonshot project. LC and the RRI is actually is kind of like that is included as one of the core actually elements to actually proceed such kind of actually very hardcore science. So based on so reflecting actually to respond to this kind of actually the current actually the movement, one of the funding agency, the government funding agency, Japan Science and Technology Agency, so-called JST, they started a kind of like a funding program on the LC and RRI. If you actually search on the internet, you can find an English website. The title of this research after funding program is called as Responsible Innovation with Conscience and Agility. And so I'm currently actually conducting a kind of interdisciplinary actually the research project together with the various scholars, both in the field of humanities and social sciences and the natural sciences on the following actually the research project. The name of the project is Comprehensive Research of the Ethical, Legal, and Social Issues as Prerequisite for the Social Acceptance of Urban Air Mobility. So yeah, this is just my example, but yeah, in the last 3-4 years, actually, that I have been conducting this kind of very interesting interdisciplinary actually the research project, and then I'm a project investigator, so that of course, and then I should be a leader. So of course, this is a very challenging project, right? Because urban air mobility, it's a very, very kind of cutting edge, actually, that technology, but that it may have a huge impact, actually, that in our future society. Actually, our research project, or the research team, I should say, actually consists of actually the various scholars from different disciplines. Not only lawyers like me, but also that we have several natural scientists, including scholars doing kind of superconductivity. He's actually now making a kind of electric motors by using superconductivity. And another scholar is doing on control in an area of engineering, and another scholar is urban planning, all these kind of things. And from the humanities and social sciences, we have actually environmental economists, also the philosophers, also and all these kind of different scholars. And then our team consists of more than 10 scholars. So in my view, this is the kind of like a future of even in including legal actually education. So in my view, actually lawyers actually we have a huge potential actually in doing these kind of interdisciplinary research, because as I mentioned, the kind of like technology becoming more complex, which actually inevitably actually triggers the complexity of the legal regulation. Of course, it's difficult, but when actually if we kind of cooperate together with the other actually disciplines, probably the lawyers can actually take a very strong initiative in the kind of like navigating actually our society to a kind of like to a kind of like a norm to a kind of yeah. So my message is actually that be courageous, and and then I think we can do a lot of things. So actually, so please do have a hope and study law, but at the same time, as I mentioned, I think we should be kind of like kind of open. We shouldn't be closed. We should not be in a silo, right? Sometimes actually the lawyers have been criticized that we're very close, and then actually sometimes we have a kind of like a very negative labeling, right? That we're in silo, but we shouldn't be in silo. We should be actually we should be quite frank. We should be quite open to other disciplines, and then if necessary, we should study actually other discipline, and then we need to communicate with them, and then by doing so, probably I strongly believe that we can construct a kind of better society.
Thank you very much, Professor. It was a wonderful message, and I'm very happy to have you here with us today, and to have this interview in our project. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, and then it was a great pleasure, and it was a great honor to be invited to this interview. Thank you very much.